give clarity to the rest of society around the public justice system that we have and that you expect the people to support, these are the ways you do it. Work to get some of these answers out so that our justice system is meant to include the people. That's what it's there for. The people need to feel like they're part of this justice system and they're helping get justice for one of their own. We're all Americans. So anybody that looks at sleuths and tries to put them down, that is such judgmental crap, because like sleuths do what they do because they care. It's not some selfish need. Almost everyone we talk to, it's because they're looking for real justice in their America.
Yeah, I mean, the sleuths are looked at like these really annoying little, just, I can't say a bad word, like they're just trying to stir the pot for no reason, almost like a sewing circle. Like they're just trying to put,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like nefarious intentions put on people. And
Yep.
I agree with you. People want to feel like they're a part of it. People, and that's okay. Like I feel like excluding the true crime community from any case is automatically going to create the situation we have right now in this case. And I think that the police taking the true crime community under their wing, offering information, offering interviews, offering, just dialogue between the community who cares and the police force, investigators, whoever, would actually settle a lot of this down, like a lot.
It would also get cases solved quicker.
It absolutely would, because you have people like this. You have people like this asking these kinds of questions, and I hope the investigators were asking these questions, but they're just people like me and you are people, and they're not going to think of absolutely everything always. And it could be one random question like that to make something click.
Absolutely. And also, though, when you have your entire society, the majority of the American people on your side and working for you, with you, not against you,
that's only an asset.
They are going to submit this information directly to police, whereas they're not going to when there's no trust.
Yeah, the police want to pick and choose, though, because I saw interviews with them, like Chief Fry saying, oh, it's taken on a life of its own. You put the facts out there and they just take on a life of their own. And talking...
I mean, that's life in general, though. It's so over the top
to
act like this is different.
And talking about how, well, and then you have these rumors, and then we end up spending our time chasing down all these rumors that go nowhere. And it's like they want to pick and choose is what they want to do. They ask for information, but then when they get information, they complain because it wasn't relevant.
Yeah.
Because there was a rumor. But would you rather them not tell you about the rumors at all?
Right.
What if that rumor happened to be true? Because sometimes they are.
Absolutely.
I just think it's kind of silly. Like, if you get 50 tips about one rumor, okay, it's one rumor. Like, you don't have to go investigate it 50 times.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with you. But
I don't know. I'm just saying.
We are curious what you think about it and the continued questions you have, and just keep them coming, you guys, because you guys are incredible. You guys are the real investigators out there, and you guys are Thought Riot Podcast. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I enjoyed reading all of those a lot.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was. All right. What's going on, everybody? We are back at it again.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, yesterday was crazy. I was super sick. So I'm back at like 50%.
It was bad.
I know. It was real bad. I was real sick. Real sick, like hallucinating sick. But that's how I am though. I got to be real sick for it to put me down under the weather.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to stay busy. Even when I'm sick, I stay busy unless I'm real sick like yesterday. So I
I
was
never seen you that sick before.
yeah.
It was honestly kind of scary. I was like, maybe I should take you to the ER or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't open my eyes and I was straight up hallucinating. So I don't know what it was. I have no clue. But we're back and no more hallucinating. Tonight's topic, it could be that flu because I'm still feeling it. Like I'm still kind of a little bit sweaty. I still feel feverish. But like I said, I'm gonna keep going even when I don't feel good, even when I'm sick. It was a fever, but not high enough though. I think when Malia was around me, what was my fever up to? Like 102 or
It
101?
was 101.5.
Yeah, 101.5, 101.5. So
Yeah, because
is that high for an
you
adult?
texted me and asked me if I was here,
Yeah.
and I was like, I mean, I just walked in there, and he's like, okay, good, because I can't tell what's real. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
and I was like, we should check your fever, and we checked it, and it was 101.5, so it
Yeah.
wasn't high enough to cause that.
Yeah. 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 So, but tonight's topics is kind of going to be up in the air, free reign. I saw a couple people ask what tonight's topics are. So I want to touch on some of the questions that we had talked about in the video, which was a community-led question and topics. Yeah, I wasn't over 103.
No, 101.
Yeah, I was 101, and I don't think I don't think I have one right now, but I'm also on meds, so, um, but I figured we could talk about I wanna talk about the house again, and I'll explain why when I bring it up. So we're gonna talk about the house, we're gonna talk about some of the questions that were brought up by the viewers, because that recording was recorded 2 weeks ago. So, new perspective comes on a daily basis. I mean, there's this idea that it's not even an idea, it's a proven fact that they've ran tests on this before, where when you're trying to learn a new skill and you get taught the skill, then you go to sleep and then you try the skill again the next day, because you've worked through that in your head while you're sleeping. it the amount of people that are better than when they went to sleep is like an astounding percentage, like 90% or something like that. So I always use that as an example to understand why somebody's perspective or opinion or view can change in such a quick amount of time. It's not far out for someone's opinion to change in a 24-hour period, because when you go to sleep, you're going to continue getting perspective on these things. So,
Yeah, that's
um,
why they say, sleeping on it. Like, that's where the phrase "sleeping on it" comes from.
yeah,
Like, sleep on it and then make a decision the next day.
yeah,
My grandpa always says, "Consult your pillow."
yeah, yeah. I don't know if they had the science to back that then, though.
No, but people knew, like, even without the science behind it, it's been a saying for a long time for a reason because it works.
Yeah, I get it. Like, I understand that, but that's one of those things where it's like subjective and not objective because there is no
Yeah, but the
evidence.
subjective and objective can what am I trying to say?
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah. I
can,
gotcha. I know you can meet the same conclusion.
no, I'm saying they can prove each other,
Yeah. Yeah, they can. They can.
but I forgot the word. It was a smarter word.
Yeah.
Then prove, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Support. I don't know.
Yeah. Support each other. I got you. I got you. Hold on. So, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into some of the questions that we talked about on here, go through like a quick rundown, brief generalization. Our original plan tonight was not to go into this topic. It was go into one of our other videos, but man, I didn't think I was going to be able to think tonight. And it's probably a good idea that I didn't follow up on a topic where I was going to have to think tonight. Still being out of it in the way that I am. Um but yeah, welcome to the show, everybody. I don't know why I switched the screen over already. Let's go through intros. Welcome to Thought Riot, the true crime and criminal culture show. This is the true crime talk show brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. You can find us on all major podcast providers: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, all of them, all across the world, all of them. So, we've just known each other for a very long time. But yeah, you can find us on all major podcast platforms, and make sure you hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing, and we will get right into it. And throughout the stream, I'll be posting our social media links. I'm just going to periodically post them out there so I don't forget or have to try and gather them all together all at once. But if you're interested in getting alerts to let you know when our new content is coming out, then I would say the two safest options are either Discord or Patreon. We do have a free Patreon out there. If you would, is that Jody Hildebrandt? Who is that?
Yeah, that's Jody.
Oh, she looks way different. Just so you guys can see, that is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so ADHD moment. But if you want to get alerts, you can join our Patreon. We do have a free tier, and if you want to give, we appreciate that. That's awesome. You don't have to. We still give alerts and updates and everything like that. But we do have members only content out there as well that our paying members will get access to. So yeah, if you want to join. If not, come hang out with us. We talk to everybody all the time. Yeah, we're gonna be covering the updated Jody. We meant to 2 weeks ago, Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt stuff. That is just absolutely horrible. I don't want to go too far down that because we're gonna have a segment on that on its own. But oh my gosh, like mind-blowing, disgusting, makes me want to throw up when I think about it and talk about it, what those kids had to go through, all while being on camera and on social media, being watched by the entire nation, having to deal with that. It's just awful, man.
Yeah,
They deserve everything that's coming to them, Jody and Ruby.
they're monsters, like straight
Literally
up.
monsters. Yeah. Literally monsters. And it's so strange too that that their moms, both of them, have kids, so they have that motherly instinct that, you know, even most fathers and men that have been a part of uh having a kid or being close to a woman who had a kid understands that there's a bond there just from like the baby growing inside the mother and everything like that, that it's something that is inherent. Like you
Some people don't have it though. Some people don't. They truly do not. And
really
it's a momster.
really some people don't have it.
No,
It feels like it would have to be like trauma induced for that not to be there.
some people genuinely do not have that bond and connection with their child when it's born. I've heard it talked about many times. And I had a friend who had a kid who felt that way. I don't really talk to her much anymore, but she had a really hard time bonding with her baby.
Mm.
But she wasn't a terrible person. Like, she wanted to do it. She just had a hard time doing it. And yeah, there was trauma there.
And had to renew. All right. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yes, welcome everybody. We see you hopping in here and we appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Okay. Now, I liked that video. I feel like it wasn't a lot of like think tanking on our part, but I really liked hearing what the community had to say. And here, let me pull up that let me pull up that poll. Give me 1 second. It's going to take me a second to find it. And that picture right here was me not being able to open my eyes.
Yeah, he was like,
I was
we're not
legitimately like
he's like
talking like this the whole time,
he was like, we're not gonna be able to stream tonight. And I was like, okay. And he's
but
like,
with
you
my
need
eyes closed.
he's like, you need to post something. And I was like, okay. And he's like, post a picture of me sick. And I was like, what? I thought he was messing with me, like for real. I was like, I'm not posting a picture of you sick. And he's like, yeah, do it. And I was like, no. And I thought you were too delusional to be serious. Like, I didn't know what to do. Cause I was like, is he gonna be mad at me the next day?
Yeah.
I'm sick too. You can hear it in my chest. But I thought you were gonna be mad at me the next day because you're gonna be like, why would you listen to me? I was like hallucinating.
No. I think it's fine. Yeah, it needed to be verified. Exactly. That's what I said yesterday while I was sick. I was like, look, our viewers are like our bosses, right? And it needs to be verified. They need to know that I'm not calling in a fake sick day. You know what I mean? The same reason leaders are like, yeah, you can't text me that you're sick. You know what I mean? You gotta show you're sick. And that was literally me. I think you can see me sweating through my sweatshirt even right there. Like it was bad, dude. I don't even remember the whole last 24 hours very well. So I don't know what was going on. Something was going on though.
I'm glad you guys got a laugh out of it though.
All right. Now let me find that poll real quick here. Hang on. Is that the genie? No. Yes. Okay. Okay. So this is what sparked it all. And this is what sparked like 100 comments, right? So Idaho 4 random case study. If you could get 100% clarity on one piece of Idaho 4 related situational evidence, not like, oh yeah, my piece is all 52 terabytes. But one piece of situational evidence using a magic lamp, of course, what piece would you want to know? All the details surrounding the IgG S&P. So what's interesting here, and it even got brought up in the chat while we were watching the premiere, is I think that at least, and this is a subjective approach, right? And I know that this is my opinion on what would prove this case has no legs on the state stand from the state standpoint is the IgG information. And that's because of my evidence and research into this. I believe that the IgG is the best example of a potentially fraudulent piece of evidence being managed in this case. So for me, I'm surprised that only 4% of the people was interested in the IgG S&P, because I think that has the biggest potential for corruption. I really do. I do not believe that the DNA IgG. But curiosity, I would go with what went on in the house.
Yeah.
So it's like it's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, that's what I was saying in the video, was like these facts that are like really important and sciencey, they're interesting and there's a lot of people that want to know about that, but at the same time, like those salacious details like about the actual people and what was happening, that people really want to know that stuff the most, I think.
It's just two different reasons. One could prove who is partially involved or involved in the crime of 4 people losing their lives. The other one, which is really important to me too, if you guys can't tell already, because I am so pro police, that means that I firmly believe that we need to call out corruption in order for people to continue being pro police. You have to call out corruption. So like the IGG being mishandled is personally very important to me because I think the IGG SNP was mishandled in this case personally. So it's a toss up. For me, it's one of those two.
Oh, no, maybe people did ask what Maddie told Adam, but I don't know if we talked about that
Yeah,
on the video, but that is a really good one because that's something I would really like to know. But my main point in saying that was, like, the media talks about what the viewer is going to click on and watch.
Yep.
Like,
That's the
so
downside.
for people who are out here complaining, like, oh my gosh, the case is just a circus, they're just, making it all salacious and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but that's because you click on it. And
Yeah.
so does everyone else because you want to know.
Yeah, for sure.
We're people. Hello.
I don't know if you've ever heard me say that, and I'm not going to because I understand it. We want to know these things. So we're human beings. We're stuck in the middle of the subjective and objective because subjective is interesting. Objective is not. Objective is like boring
nerdy.
science, nerdy, factual data. And subjective brings on that emotional draw and interest into humans in general. You know what I mean?
And I'm not saying that, like, these victims should be disrespected or dishonored and, people should be talking crap and all that stuff. It's not like that. It's like people just want the information, the juicy parts the most, but all of it. They want all of it.
Yeah, they do. You know what's interesting is I just saw this. So in our Discord, which I'll post this since we're talking about it. For anybody that wants to join our Discord here, I am going to post the invite link now. It doesn't cost anything. It is just a place for everybody to continue the conversation and get updates when new content's coming out. But somebody posted in the Discord a Sigma Chi Rush video for 2023. And you know what's interesting is they removed Loach, which is the one that Ethan and Xana got into an argument with that night. All the footage in this video on our Discord is old footage. It's footage from 2022. And that what they did is they reworked it, re-edited it, and removed Loach. Isn't that not weird? Because he was in the original footage.
Yeah, weird.
Super weird. So, because there were 3 people getting their hair cut before the wrestling event, all right? And they were making it a big hangout ordeal, whatever. And they were, shaving their head funny, just joking around, messing around, bonding, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing wrong with it, right? They were having a good time. But the main one was Loach in that, and he is no longer in there. The other 2 are in there, but Loach is not. So interesting, right? Interesting. I don't know if okay, so let's look at it from both sides of the coin here, because I don't want to go too tin hat, because I think there is a non-tin hat element here. I think that anybody that is objective and not only subjective, which is interesting because I think that, and you guys will see the objective and subjective video come out. We have a video coming out Sunday where it's part 1 of a 2-part on this. But what's interesting is a lot of people want want you to think that, you know, tin hat, it is subjective. These are like a lot of trauma induced theories from people that can't look objectively, and it's really not. I think that both sides, whether you're looking at it from a tin hat perspective or a mainstream perspective, both have elements of objectivity and subjectivity to them. You know what I mean? But when you're looking at the fraternity in this manner, I think that the fact that they went out of their way to take Dylan or take David Loach out of it, I'm sorry, David Loach out of it, is either one, they didn't like the interest that was being brought up around the fraternity and using his image in this way, which is ridiculous. I mean, all it's going to bring is more eyes on the situation by doing that, because once you put something online, it's forever online if you know how to work it.
Removing somebody from a video that was already put together and has been watched by a ton of people, like, it just, there's no point. There's no point in removing that stuff.
Well, once something's online, it literally is forever online. So people have these ideas that you can hire these companies that will like remove all these things from online. But the fact of the matter is once it's online, it's truly online forever. It's just whether it's going to come up in search results or not.
Yeah.
So like making that edit is drawing attention to that. It's doing the opposite. So then you have to take into account, were they requested to take his picture out of it from people that just don't understand how the internet works and how technology works?
Well,
or was it people that were like scared because there is some kind of involvement here?
But this wasn't put out by Sigma Chi. So the Sigma Chi Rush videos are made by this YouTube channel filmed by Ferris, and Ferris is a member of Sigma Chi. I don't know if he's like a high-ranking member, like, you know, I know the president. He's not the president, but I don't know I don't know the hierarchy within frats, so I don't know who he is really, but I know he's in Sigma Chi and he's a student. And he makes videos. He's even done vlogs and stuff on his channel. So, I mean, if you're interested in looking at the frat, it's a channel to watch. I've watched quite a few of the videos. But we had a comment on Twitch, and no, we aren't familiar with that case. I just wanted to address you real quick because I know you're lonely over there on Twitch. The Luca Magnotta case, I'm Canadian, and I can confirm this was a big thing in Canadian history. But I'll look it up. I'll write it down and look it up. Thank you for bringing it up. And yeah, I mean, Ferris, I think he just films stuff on his own accord. Like, I don't think, you know.
I mean, he's using. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think you can just film stuff. So you realize that like all of the fraternities and sororities own rights to their labels. Yeah, what about it?
I wanted to see if there's any description on his channel, like about like what his channel is.
Yeah, so this is the one 4 months ago.
Maybe he got approved by the fraternity to make videos about the fraternity. But he's a student.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah. That's interesting, though. It's interesting. In my opinion, it's more interesting the fact that he is in Sigma Chi and is part of that brotherhood locally.
Oh, then I for sure know about the Luca case. If it was in that Netflix documentary, it was that one. We loved that. Remember?
Yes. We've referenced the Don't F with Cats on Netflix multiple times. Okay, now it makes sense why you were talking about like sleuths in the community. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I agree.
That was
with
a
you.
good one. And I just we're bad with names, so the name didn't ring a bell. But yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
that was wild.
Yeah, that whole series is insane, and that whole case was solved multiple times. Like if internet sleuths were not involved, then it never would have been solved. They never would have been picked up. They never would have
Never.
found the part two to it. Essentially, the creating of a sociopath. It started with animals and moved to more. So yeah, yeah.
All right.
But anyways, I thought that was super interesting from that posting in our Discord that this footage that previously had people that had been in question in this case are now removed.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd, and like you said, there's no point. It's on the internet forever, and I feel like it just looks bad.
It well, okay, let's go down this idea that somebody was involved from that Sigma Chi, okay? So, it not only has local potential of recourse, but it has national potential for recourse. And what I mean by that is Sigma Chi as a whole has been put on the chopping block for the last decade, you guys. They have had a ton of national trouble, a ton of national trouble. And some of the things that have happened is they've been involved in I don't even want to go into all the details. It's too many to remember. Last time we covered this, we pulled 10 separate cases from 10 of the Ivy League colleges in the US. And it was ranging all over the place. But basically, nationally, what they were told is that if they have one more hiccup or one more mistake or whatever, that they're at risk of losing their entire national chapter, the entirety of Sigma Chi. I don't know if they were involved in the drug dealing in North Carolina. We haven't covered that one yet. But I do know that that was multiple fraternities. So let's just say in this case, somebody was involved in Sigma Chi. A couple things are going to happen. One, the college locally is going to be questioned, and there are going to be big issues and concerns raised around the college's involvement in the Greek community and or Greek row and what they're doing to deal with and or manage that situation. Then Sigma Chi is going to get thrown on the chopping block, and nationally they're going to be shut down. Literally nationally, all Sigma Chi fraternities would be shut down nationally. So it would cause a huge upheaval. Yeah, it would be massive, massive, massive changes. I don't remember how many locations they have nationally. I can look that up. Let me see. Sigma Chi national location chapters. I know that Sigma Chi is considered international, but on a national scale, they would have been closed. So it is. They don't give the total. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't think it gives the total here. But these are all chapters within the US, you guys. And this is what would be at risk of closing. These are all Sigma Chi chapters. Interesting. So, what I'm getting at by bringing that up is that there was a lot at risk. A lot at risk here. A lot. Yeah, that's interesting, Johan. Johan says nobody talks about the sorority angle. The girls left the sorority and ended up dead while two girls were still in the sorority and are still alive. Yeah, that's interesting. That is That's interesting. I haven't looked into that, and to be honest, I don't know enough to know for sure that yes, they did leave. They left for these reasons. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's interesting. That is definitely an interesting angle if that ends up being the case. I know that all of them were involved in the Greek life. Like that was just a spin-off, a part of Greek Row were the houses in that area. So that's interesting. I'm telling you, there's a couple other theories out there, and I'll wait for Malia to come back before we bring this up. But I think that anybody, whether you believe Bryan Kohberger is innocent, whether you believe he's guilty, whether you don't know, whether you need more information, no matter what the reason is, I think people are giving themselves a disservice when you follow the this or that outline where it can only be two options. All the way from the very highest of high are politicians, right? You have a two-party system when life in general isn't normally a this or that situation. It's multiple different options. So there's no reason that any of our situation, it doesn't need to be black or white. It doesn't need to be this or that. It doesn't need to be anything like that. You can look at a case, you can look at an investigation and have multiple different working theories to see what ends up adding up the best at the end, right? Now, when we look at this case here, whether you think Bryan Kohberger is innocent, whether you think he's guilty, no matter what you think, I think that, like what I was saying a second ago, that people are doing themselves a disservice by not at least looking at other theories and at least looking at the possibility of other options. And hey, what's going on, AR? Yes, welcome, welcome.
Good to see you. Ex-con's thoughts. He changed
Yes.
his name from a convict thoughts to an ex-con's thoughts.
Yeah.
I think it was a good change.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, so what I was saying is just how it's important, whether you think Bryan Kohberger is guilty or that you think he's innocent, to leave at least a sliver open for the possibility of there being a different outcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not getting stuck into this idea that it's one or the other. It's this or that. If it's not this, it has to be that. And that's actually one thing we talked about when we were covering, the subjective or objective nature of any cases or whatever, is that believing if it's not this, then it has to be this. And that just creates a very close-minded. I won't say close-minded because a lot of times people aren't intentionally becoming close-minded. It's a almost like a reaction, right? Because you believe if it's proven that it's not this thing, then it has to be this thing, and it's very easy to fall into that trap, that idea in that way.
For sure. And I would hope the jury does that when they're listening to the evidence, that they're waiting and refraining from making a decision until they have the totality of it. It's
Yeah,
important.
yeah. What?
You just stare into the camera or the screen when you put on chapstick.
Do I? I was sitting here thinking my brain's not working as good as it normally is.
Mine isn't either, but
I'm off my game tonight. I can't handle my normal rants. I'm still out of it. Okay, so this is what I said I was waiting for you on, and one of the big questions that I had, and I just posted this recently in our community poll, is okay, since we're talking about, I do have fog brain right now. I do, from being sick. It's like a little bit left over. So sorry about that, guys. But hopefully it'll be good to go by Sunday time when we come back. But so with the house teardown, okay, and I'm actually surprised that I missed this. So we've been talking about the house from the perspective of the Bryan Kohberger case. What's interesting and why I was okay with that teardown is because I was looking at this situation from a keyhole, you know. What happens if Bryan Kohberger gets proven innocent or the case gets thrown and they have to look for another suspect?
Yeah, I mean, one example that I used when talking to you about this that I thought would kind of, make you think about the value and possibly keeping the house is that one case that remember you did it on the podcast, and it was a situation where a man was in a hotel room and he died. He was shot, but they couldn't figure out how he died. They couldn't find anything, right? Like they could find nothing wrong with him. He just seemingly died for no reason. But it was a murder case basically. And it was a huge mystery until this one guy who was like an expert. He was like an expert on cold cases. He walked in the hotel room and he had to be in the physical space. And this is years later, right? And his wife had been hiding, like fighting
I'm gonna
for
find it, but I know what you're talking about.
fighting to get this figured out, and to get people looking at it. Well, um, he went in the hotel room and figured it out, like, right away. Like, it
Yeah.
was pretty quick that he figured it out, but he needed the space. He needed to see it. He needed to be there so he could calculate and work it all out in his head. And what happened was there was people in the next room in the and there's like a door, right? It was like one of those hotel rooms where you said there was a door separating the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were playing with a gun or messing around with a gun in the next room, and they shot through the door or the wall or something. My memory's fuzzy on it, but
Yeah,
it
I
went
could.
right into the guy's.
So what I was just gonna say
You didn't let me finish.
before you get to that part is the fact that because that part's important. But what's interesting is all the experts missed everything. The part you're about to talk about right now happened like years later, years down the road, where every expert missed it. Every expert missed it because it is outside of what we would classify as normal. Okay, go ahead.
It went through his balls.
Yeah, his groin.
And it went through his body all the way through.
Yep, it did, and because of extra skin there, they didn't find the whatever bullet it was. I forget if it was 20, 22, 30. I don't remember right now what it was because we covered that so long
Oh
ago.
yeah, because
I
it
think it's
seemed like
room 145 or something
he
like
had
that.
massive internal damage,
Yep.
okay? But the outside of his body was like perfect, and they didn't find the entrance wound for the bullet. And they're like, this guy appears to have been like in a car crash, but there's no bruising, there's nothing wrong with him.
It's right here. Okay. So it was the body in room 348. So if you guys want to see what we're talking about, it's this one right here.
Stupid costume.
The body in room 348. And it's exactly what we're talking about. And what's interesting is when the experts missed all of that, and this case is interesting because it walks you through how the experts missed it, how they missed it, right? Because there's so much extra skin where that happened that it was completely overlooked. They just didn't pick up on it, but saw the bruising internally because the type of bullet ammunition they used, it bounced around and caused damage in there. So what they thought is this guy was like beaten and then set into place. And if that room wasn't there, wasn't left there, this never would have got found out. And this was some hotshot investigator from New York that has like a 90 something percent close rate. Like there's one case he hasn't been able to figure out. And he goes in this room, walks around and paces for like 10 minutes and figures it out. Bam. Figures it out. So yeah, I don't remember you bringing this up as an example, but it is a great example, a really great example. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about the house is I'm shocked that I was looking at the teardown of the house in that way, because if you guys remember, as long as we've been talking about the teardown of the house for the last 3 weeks, I've said from the beginning that I'm okay with it being torn down, right? Obviously it's torn down. There's nothing that can happen with it. But the whole time I've been saying I'm good with it being torn down because I was thinking about it just from the perspective of the case. I was thinking about it too small. What happens if Bryan Kohberger gets proved innocent? I don't know if that's going to happen, but what happens if it is? We're just setting ourselves up for this to be a cold case forever.
Yeah.
One of the worst crimes of the last, multiple decades, right? You have college kids just starting out their adult lives, and that was taken from them too soon. And
this isn't normal. Tearing down a home isn't normal like this. Like, I've never seen this happen anywhere in any case I've ever watched, and following true crime for a very long time. And I can't, anybody else I've talked to about it, anybody I've seen talk about it online, nobody has pointed out another case where they tore down the crime scene this quickly. Ever. It's normally many years afterwards that it gets torn down, if ever. Like, we have plenty of crime cases where the house still stands. There's true crime cases where the houses that they happened in are like 100 years old.
Yeah. So then I go back to, right, taking you guys along the way that, and what's interesting is, I was thinking about this last night when I was sick, like what I'm talking about right now. I was so sick and hallucinating and thinking about this topic, but what's going to happen then if he's not the guy?
Right.
What's going to happen? How are they going to come up with theories? How are they going to create a whole different theory and understanding? Is it going to change things when an investigator needs to go and rewalk a different potential path that a suspect could have traveled? I know for a fact, I know for a fact they don't have this case locked in to where they're like, okay, at 3:20, he's walking through this area. Here's his footstep. Like, I know they don't have that, right? I think part of the reason why they were pushing to have this torn down is because it makes the case feel closed. I do. I think that's why.
Because it makes it feel closed.
It makes it feel final. The crime scene's gone. This is being wiped away because we are so sure Bryan Kohberger is the guy.
I mean,
it's just closing.
It makes
the case before it's even been taken to court.
And if that's what makes it feel shady for me, because I know, for instance, Get a Clue's like, it's gone. Who cares? Nobody was going to use it anyway. Like, and I understand all of his arguments, and I think they're all logical, but it is gone. At this point, the
psychological aspects are what's important now, is why they wanted it gone.
Right. Yeah. And I think why they wanted it gone is because of that, most likely. You're probably right, is that it makes it feel final. Like, we got the guy. This is solved. We don't need this anymore. Wipe it away. It's done. Case closed. Over.
Exactly. And I didn't put that together until I was hallucinating sick yesterday. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And just make it like, okay, because psychology has to always be taken into account, right? as you guys know, and we'll probably joke, just because I'm saying it, like I'm a salesperson, obviously, for anyone that's new here. That's what my profession is. So I'm always looking at situations with a psychological standpoint because uh, I have to learn to expect what they're going to do based on what I'm bringing up and things like that. You know what I mean? So when I was looking at the house being torn down, I can't believe I missed that before. Is that the psychology aspects that are coming into play with the Bryan Kohberger case by tearing this house down? Is they're already setting the stage that, hey, this is past already. Like it's closed, it's done, it's gone. This is our guy, even though there hasn't been a trial.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this. Like, think about if this case were to go cold and he was exonerated. Think about how valuable, because I know, like, for instance, Get a Clue believes wholeheartedly that Bryan Kohberger is innocent. Well, then why would you want the house torn down? Because think about how valuable, like,
I don't
in a
know if
cold
it's
case, going back to the house and reworking the crime. You know what I mean? Like a cold case detective, like John Benet Ramsey, that
yeah,
situation, the house is extremely valuable.
yeah,
That is how Lou Smith went in there and was like, "Yeah, absolutely somebody could have fit through that window," and reworked it and was like, "I believe it's an intruder. I do not think it was the parents."
yeah,
He completely was like, "No, it's not the parents." He took them off the list.
yeah.
A cold case detective is going to want to go in there and rework all of that in their heads.
Yeah, and what's interesting is a lot of private investigators are so much better than our boys in blue, and I don't mean that as a stab. I am so pro police. Like if something goes wrong in my life, obviously I'm going to call 911. I 100% back and support our police. That's why I 100% hold them accountable and grade their work product because we own them, the people own them, and that's our job. In the same way that your boss checks your work product, we check our police's work product because we pay for them, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. And forget where I was going with that, but that's okay.
No, I think there's value in the house, even if it's not the most valuable. Messing up the crime scene as far as the forensic evidence doesn't mess up like timing, like figuring out, say they went back and they looked at CCTV footage and they looked at camera footage and they noticed another car, or they noticed a bystander, somebody that they didn't notice before that was walking around, on the edge of the frame or something, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And they want to see, well, how long would it have taken this person to get from point A to B to C? Like, all I guess with the only way that that's not the only way is, like, now they have the Pharaoh scans, which helps a lot. That that could possibly help, you know what I mean? Like, fill in those gaps, which is great, which we didn't have that back when a lot of these other cold cases we're talking
Yeah,
about
you know what's
were
interesting
being looked at and solved,
is
but, um,
the body in room 348. Do you think that Pharaoh scan would have picked up that
the hole
toothpaste
in the
filled
wall?
hole in the wall?
No.
I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't know
Well,
because
maybe,
the Pharaoh
maybe.
scan, in my opinion, probably would see it as just normal filler, right? Because why everyone missed it is because that hole in the wall was close enough to, like, for anyone watching, whenever you open a door too hard and there's a lock, like the turny lock on one side, it'll knock a hole in that wall. You know what I mean? And everyone missed it because they thought that that was that, but not taking into account that there were actually two holes there. One was fixed, one of them was done with toothpaste. So would the Pharaoh scans be able to pick up that difference? I don't know if it would. I don't know.
No, I don't think you could, notice the difference between toothpaste and plaster.
Yeah.
No, I don't. And yeah, I guess little things like that could be vital to a case that a scan wouldn't pick up. So,
I don't think that the house would have helped Bryan Kohberger at all. But
no, with Bryan Kohberger, I don't think the house is valuable anymore. But
yep.
if it's a cold case, I do see value.
Yes, if it's a cold case, I see value. With Bryan Kohberger, I don't. Now, what's interesting is is uh what's interesting is sorry, I got sidetracked. Is with the Bryan Kohberger case, I don't think that the House would serve any other purpose. I don't think that it gives the defense an approach. I don't think that it gives a specific angle. I don't think that it gives anything similar to, and what I mean by this is, and I brought this up a couple times, is it within the Bryan Kohberger case, it usually doesn't help anybody when the defense tries to point blame at somebody else instead of just trying to prove that it wasn't the defendant. So, in let's say they went to trial, right? And let's say that there's good evidence of it being somebody else. It doesn't help Bryan Kohberger if he's not guilty to come into the courtroom and say, look, it's not me because it's this person. We've seen it time and time and time again where you have situations that's not, they're just going to get shut down because there will come a point where the judge will be like, look, this other person isn't on trial. You are, the defendant is on trial and you're here to defend the defendant. You know what I mean? So I don't think it has anything to do with the Bryan Kohberger case. So then it comes down to the fact that that as we investigate this crime, it's going to have to split into two differences of like the case of who could have done this and then the Bryan Kohberger legal case. You know what I mean?
I guess, so what do you think about AR's question about do you think the state of Idaho will let this case fail?
Um, in what way?
Like, are they gonna go above and beyond to fill in evidence? Like, where there isn't evidence? Or,
If
like, a
you want my guess, and this is me without having any of the information I need. I don't have even 20% of the information I need. I'm pretty sure he's going to get convicted and then it's going to get overturned. That's my guess. Because of state institutions and because of how powerful colleges are in that state.
well, I think
Because
that
if that happens, then it goes cold and gets everyone off scot-free. Because there is so much less interest in a retrial. So much less interest.
I don't know if it would be in this case.
He'll win the appeal. Yeah.
I really have no idea. I don't know where this is gonna go.
Exactly. Somebody said, Dara said with Dr. Moore. Exactly. Like that is
Yeah,
Idaho's
but
practice
Dr. Moore
101.
confessed, and it wasn't a straight up it wasn't a trial.
Yeah, Bryan Kohberger isn't confessing, but that
And it's
doesn't
gonna be a
change.
trial where they hash out every bit of evidence. They didn't do that, Dr. Moore, so they
But
didn't
they
get to
would have. That's why there's
Yeah,
evidence of them manipulating evidence.
yeah,
They have proof that Tolson changed timestamps and wrote over evidence, electronic evidence.
I know. So maybe, I mean, no, I don't think they would want this to fail. I think it's just how far do you think they're willing to go to get the conviction, I guess, but it'd be really interesting to see. I mean, that's why I really just wanna see all the evidence. The only problem is that we as the public, we're not gonna be able to see if they did doctor anything unless Anne calls it out. Like, cause they don't straight up show us the evidence.
Yeah.
We have to wait until they trickle it out through, little releases.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately.
who knows what we're gonna see in the actual footage of the trial, since the judge has full control over it now.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's gonna be more or less restrictive, because I know in trials that we watch with Court TV and stuff, they'll show, kind of a far away image of when they put stuff up on the projector, but if it's really graphic, you don't get to see it at all.
Yeah, I
So I'm
agree,
curious if it's
Tolson.
gonna be even more
Somebody
restrictive than
somebody
that.
said Tolson did this. I agree. I agree. I agree. That is why I think that the biggest gap is going to be found in the IGG evidence. I just have a feeling that if you tracked the IGG evidence or the entire DNA evidence, not the IGG evidence, because I think the SNP is tied to the IGG evidence, and I don't think they had the SNP profile. If you look at, and oh man, I don't want to get into it. It's going to be such a long rant, but essentially, if you can track when the IGG was dated, sent, and came up with, right, so that they had an at least a situation based lead. If you can find out the date of that and then run that against the date that they ran the SNP, then that, in my opinion, would be enough, because the SNP should have been ran days, if not weeks, before any IGG would have been created.
Or if there's confirmation of what Get a Clue was talking about, and that was that Xana saw the back door open when she got her DoorDash order. At the same time, they have Bryan Kohberger's car on CCTV footage still in town, not at the home.
Into the
That's exonerating. He wasn't the
it,
intruder.
no, because
Somebody was there.
yeah, I get it, but Xana is passed,
Yeah,
so
I
that's
know.
not exonerating.
Yeah, but what if that's Bethany's exonerating evidence, or Dylan said something, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I
Or
get it.
Xana sent somebody a text or anything, and it just isn't getting out there.
Yeah, I think there's an endless amount of possibilities, like any investigation, right? And I think that I could come up with a million different possibilities, but without having actual factual evidence, I don't know if that's beneficial without, having at least something tying it into reality. So yes, I think anything is possible. Whatever our minds can come up with, we can create a situation where this could happen, right? But what concrete evidence, what actual factual evidence can tie it into reality?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's all word of mouth pretty much.
Yeah.
But it does supposedly come from somebody. I mean, Get a Clue was talking to somebody, he said he confirmed talks to Steve.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm not.
Steve supposedly got that from a grand juror, and that's what the grand jury heard. But it's all word of mouth. Like, we don't know this grand juror. We don't know who they are or anything like that. So,
Yeah. 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 It's like a case of telephone. Every person that talks about a
exactly.
situation, it just gets more.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it has nothing to do with Get a Clue. Everyone knows. We love Get a Clue. We're
We
super stoked
do.
that he's back, and we're super sad when he left, and love his content. But it's the same thing as when he watches us, I'm sure, is I don't want anybody to take what we're saying as fact. If anything, it's just a carrot. It's a suggestion to look further and deeper into a certain topic, not fact. So even in that case, I don't think that I just have a hard time without seeing something factual with my own two eyes and understanding it.
Yeah. And one
Because here's
thing,
the thing, I doubt Dylan's statement. It doesn't matter if it helps Bryan Kohberger or hurts Bryan Kohberger. I doubt it regardless, because she was in there and didn't call 911. So it doesn't matter who it helps or hurts.
Right.
I think it's full of it, and I don't know why. And that's what I need to understand. I need to understand why you claim this is your eyewitness account, but that you didn't call 911 for 8 hours. Even if it helps Bryan Kohberger, because again, we aren't here to prove Bryan Kohberger's innocent. We aren't here to prove Bryan Kohberger is guilty. That will just be at the end of the, end at the end of the work list, the workload. It'll figure itself out. I doubt anything she says.
I absolutely doubt everything she has to say.
Yeah.
It's got to be verified, or else I'm gonna have a hard time believing her.
I think the cops are the reason she even has an eyewitness statement at all, and that's my
yeah.
Because remember, I mean, you have Tolson who forced an admission of guilt from a doctor in a community.
Yeah, and I mean they also
So what's an eyewitness account?
they threatened a witness.
Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to bring up that I actually saw from watching a replay of A.R. Hayes's one of his lives recently, because I never catch him actually live. Sorry, I'm bad at that. But I also don't get notifications. I swear, like my phone is jacked up. I never get notifications. But I wanted to tell you about this. Are you?
No, go ahead. I gotta go to the bathroom, but I'll wait.
So he was talking about the attorneys on Bryan's team, and one thing I didn't realize is that Eliza Massath was added May of this year to his team,
Yeah.
and apparently she's like one of the best attorneys in Idaho.
Yeah.
Criminal defense attorneys. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But she doesn't do any of the filings or
Well,
anything.
she can't because it has to go through the lead attorney.
Did we ever see a hearing on that where they talked about why they were adding her to the team?
No.
Because even if you feel like, because you remember we were talking about Ann Taylor and everything, and people were starting to doubt her, but you have this other super like BA attorney on his team, and Ann Taylor's pretty BA too. They can't both be leaks, you know? They can't both like be working for the state, because that's what people were alleging, is that Anne was
I
secretly on
don't
the
even think
state
that's
side.
beneficial bringing that up, though. I
What do you
really
mean?
don't. Trying to make it seem like Ann Taylor's working for the state.
She's not.
I
Like,
don't
I
think
really
so.
don't believe that at
Yeah.
all. I think she's an honest attorney. That's my personal belief. But even if she say wasn't, like, do you really think an attorney of that stature is going to support that?
Yeah, I don't know. I would be interested in understanding why they added that secondary attorney, and that, in my opinion, seems more like a possibility of a leak than Ann Taylor being
Oh,
added after the fact to, let us know what's going on, whatever. Now, what's interesting before I go to the bathroom, but what's interesting is the state has been overwhelmingly aggressive following everywhere the defense team goes. So it doesn't matter where the defense team goes, the state follows, which in my opinion is shady. It shows that they don't have a strong case, because if they did have a strong case, it can stand on their own 2 feet without having to re-verify and or check up on what the defense investigations team is doing, because the defense has their own investigation team. We haven't talked about this yet, but they hired a national investigation team that Ann Taylor's a part of. Actually, we might have talked about it on live stream before, but they're really good and highly regarded. But anywhere that they go, the state is sure to follow. Okay, and in my opinion, they're just trying to get any inside information.
Sorry, I'll scoot over. I know a
But
lot of people complain that on the TV, they have to choose between me or the chat because the chat covers me. It'll be different soon. Once, because this is like kind of the old setup. We're gonna have a new setup soon, where the camera should be able to be pulled back a little. So maybe we'll be like more centered and like hopefully it'll be better. Hopefully. We'll see. Um but yeah, I thought that was interesting when he was talking about that because I guess I never really saw anybody have discourse about that lawyer being added to the team, but that's interesting thinking about her possibly being added like to infiltrate the defense's case almost. I don't know. I have a lot of faith in defense lawyers though. Like I have a lot of faith in defense lawyers, especially ones that are very very reputable. Maybe I shouldn't though. Maybe I shouldn't. But I know like prosecutors it depends on, I guess, how you look at things. Like, there's people who a lot of times like to go one way or the other. They like to be super pro police, pro prosecutor, pro state, or they're the opposite, just completely. And I try not to be that way at all. But I guess I have a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to prosecutors and the state, because of cases like this and Delphi. But I tend to have a lot of faith in defense attorneys because I feel like they really fight for people's rights. They're the last line of defense basically for fighting for people's rights. And I think their job is really honorable. So I guess that's why I have a hard time putting their integrity into question.
mm.
I only have one tattoo, and it's on my back, and it's for my friend that was murdered. Which I told that story on here, before the break, before the holiday break. She's a private attorney, she doesn't work for or with the state.
Yeah,
But who's paying her
I
then?
have Thug Life stamped on my lower back.
Tramp
Thug Life
stamp?
tramp stamp.
I'm just wearing the hat because 'cause I'm cold and my hair is, like, a mess because 'cause I've been wearing the hat all day, so you guys don't need to see that.
But yeah,
Has anyone else noticed that the empty fort floor room has a different ceiling than all the other rooms? No, I have not. I'm not sure what ceiling that is. Okay. You're back.
yeah.
Ann Taylor disperses her pay, which she gets via the state. Ugh. And people were talking crap about her pay. Remember that? Like she gets paid so much. She dispersed that to other lawyers. What?
Yeah.
Splitting that up makes it a lot less.
I mean, I think that with the amount of schooling she has, she's well within her range to be getting paid that. I never saw a problem with it. I don't
I
think
didn't
there's
either.
anything wrong with her getting paid $300K plus a year when you have a prosecutor making an equal amount. I mean, come on. And that is another shady situation in our justice system is the fact that prosecutors tend to get paid a heck of a lot more than defense attorneys do. Super shady.
Bill Thompson's getting paid a pretty penny.
Yeah, I think Bill Thompson makes just under 400 is my understanding.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. We'll talk about the investigation team that she uses. We'll bring that up and go through it. It's really interesting, the investigation team that she's using. And I think that's another reason why we see the state following everywhere the defense goes. Because if you guys haven't noticed, every single time the defense team went into 1122, which I think was on 3 different occasions, the state followed immediately after, unplanned.
Wait. So if this is true, AR and Brendan, that Ann Taylor has to take those 8 G's a week and disperse them between all the lawyers and their supplies and experts, that is such an incentive. If that's also her salary and there's not a set salary, like this is yours, this is what you get paid for you, this is what is for experts and this, and then she can request more money. Like if it's just up to her to manage all that money, isn't that a heck of an incentive to not do much so you can just keep all the money?
Duh.
That's kind of jacked up that they
Mhm.
do it that way.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
welcome to the US
That's not pay. Exactly.
justice.
That's not being paid. That's screwed up if that's how it works. And I'm guessing you know what you're talking about, AR. I think you do. So that's like really jacked up. I hope it's not like that. Like I hope that I don't know, man. I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
not fair.
no.
It's clearly not fair.
Because she's not getting paid that then at all.
Yeah, but even if she was,
No, I get your point with that, but my point is I think she's worth that much money.
yeah, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
what's actually happening is she's only getting a fraction of that. And the
So-
media painted it like that was all going in her pocket.
The investigation team that she uses, it is a group of defense attorneys that created an investigation team where each defense attorney that's involved in this pays for this team of investigators, I think on like a monthly basis or something like that. It's very similar to our legal team that we have for Thought Riot, where you only pay like I don't remember what it is. It's like $50 a month or something like that. And you have like top of the line, super amazing legal defense through my job. And it's like some of the best defense team in the entire, or some of the best lawyers in the entire nation for a reduced amount because you have a group of people paying into it. So it covers that cost. That's what she's using as an investigation team.
Messed up, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's cool.
Yeah.
It works kind of like insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, my head is itchy, but I don't want to take off the hat.
All right. So where was that survey again? Hang on.
Which one? The one we were talking about?
Yeah.
With the genie lamp?
Yep. All right. So let's go down. Let's go into Tolson. I don't think that if I would have not made the mistake here where I said all details surrounding Rosendahl, I don't think if I would have put Tolson, anyone would have voted that anyways, even though I think that is a huge, massive topic to exploit in this case.
I think it's because it's almost like maybe too specific about just one cop in the investigation. I think if you had just put police corruption in the case, like to know if there was any corruption and what it was, that would have been a better one.
Yeah, I get that, but you're thinking way too vague. Like wishes can't be that vague.
That is not too vague. You said all details surrounding IGG.
Yeah.
I want all details surrounding police corruption. I get it.
Yeah, but that's not. You would have a genie that would be like, nah.
Okay, then I'd ask a different question, or I'd make it a little bit more specific, like a little bit.
Okay,
until they
but
say,
here's the
okay,
thing. Yeah, but here's the thing. We have an officer that shows proven corruption, 100% proven corruption. So if you think there's corruption in a case, wouldn't your automatic assumption be that it's probably from or connected to the officer that has proven corruption within the last 12 months?
Yeah, but what if he didn't do anything because he
He did.
do you be quiet? What
What?
what if, because you're already thinking ahead instead of listening. So, what if he is on a tight leash because of the Dr. Moore case? So he didn't do anything in this case, but another one of his buddies did. So my wish was useless because he wasn't involved. One of his other little corrupt buddies was
But
involved.
we already know he was involved.
With the Kohberger case, not Moore.
Yes, we already know he's
Yeah, but
involved
we
in the
don't.
Kohberger
I
case.
know that, but there's other ISP officers that he works with that are involved too, and he could be on a tight leash because of the Dr. Moore case, and he could be doing everything by
But
the
he
book.
wasn't a tight leash. He was the lead investigator for ISP.
So
So, like he made very specific choices in the direction of this case. That's factual.
so
So then who's stepping in for him? Because he was the one making the decisions.
I don't know.
That's what it's definitely him.
Are you sure he was the lead for ISP?
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
a fact.
Yes. Yes. That's why it's so important that we draw a connection between what's his face from Moscow PD. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm sick brain.
Pain.
Yeah, Pain. Someone thinks you should run. You should, because I'm always right.
I do keep him in line.
So
I'm gonna put him on a tight leash.
So Pain is has a connection to the town where Tolson was like housed out of.
What?
So ISP subcontracts officers through different police departments depending on where they need them.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So in the town of Dr. Moore, that was the police department where Tolson was out of. In that same town, Payne is tied to that meat locker or whatever the heck it is. So that draws the connection to what? That draws the connection between the two of them.
Who names it a meat locker?
I'd ask him. I don't know. I didn't name it that. That's literally what it's called.
I know it's called a meat locker.
Yeah. So, but that doesn't change the fact that, okay, then how did Tolson, who has connections to PD in that same area as the lead ISP officer that's working on the Kohberger case that has been proven to have corruption in the Dr. Moore case? Like, I understand your argument and what you're trying to say, but that doesn't make sense in this situation.
Okay, that would still be my genie wish.
Is just in general the police corruption?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think the police corruption came from Tolson. I think that Tolson,
and that can be your genie wish.
And here's the I mean, it's not a genie wish. Mine's factual. So I don't need a genie wish. Yes, it is. Tolson is corrupt.
Then why did you put that on the thing? We're talking about the genie wish.
I get that, but that's exactly what was done. So Tolson is corrupt, and there is a connection to Payne, and
maybe.
Not maybe. Not maybe.
I mean, I know that Payne owns the meat locker, okay?
Okay.
Is Tolson a customer of the meat locker?
I don't know. I think it's obvious. I think that you're trying to like disprove that possibility.
I can't be serious. And I can't laugh or else I'll cry.
Why?
And cough. It makes my eyes water.
Yeah. I tend to have that.
You make people's eyes water? I don't think that's a good effect to have on people.
Yeah, it's a great effect.
Why?
Why not?
To make people cry?
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry. Um
Oh, next time we're in Vegas, we'll definitely hit you up.
I lived in Vegas for a little bit.
Yeah, I've been to Vegas a couple times.
We used to go to Mead every weekend when I was growing up out there. But yeah, I don't think that there's any question whether police corruption is involved here.
So, once a corrupt cop, always a corrupt cop?
Absolutely, when it's done in the last 12 months. Absolutely, 100%. That's why I'm saying I don't even know why there is an active case into Tolson going on, and he was allowed anywhere near this case.
I don't either. I don't understand how he's still an officer on the streets.
I don't either. I think Tolson's evidence with the Dr. Moore case should, in any reasonable state, be enough to get this at least looked into by another department, another police department, because there's something problematic here. You tell me why Payne made Tolson a leading officer.
Payne got to choose that, or did
Payne
that?
was the lead investigator, period.
I know Payne
So
was.
everything went through him.
But when a state police force issues officers to go help out a local police force, wouldn't they pick the lead?
Nope. The lead investigator is, because that's who the accountability's on.
Okay. And by us saying there's police corruption, that doesn't mean that we're talking about the police killing anyone. We're talking about, possibly a frame up or, doctoring of evidence in some way or, like the normal stuff.
This is what it comes down to. So a lot of people in a lot of different situations will look at police corruption, and police corruption, I know I've already said it twice this talk show, but I am so pro police that I don't believe you can be pro police if you're not willing to hold your police accountable. There's something wrong there to be like, yeah, I'm pro police. That means we give them unfettered access to do anything they want and abuse anybody they want. What are you talking about? Like, what's wrong with you? But I think you have to hold them accountable in any of these situations. And with this case, it's not a question of whether one of these cops was dirty. We already have proof, 100% guaranteed evidence proof with the Dr. Moore case that the police officer was dirty. And we're seeing some of the same evidence that was used to frame Dr. Moore being used in this case. Now, can that be a coincidence? Absolutely. That could be a coincidence all day. But what's it more likely to be, a coincidence or not? That's why I asked that question of all the details surrounding Tolson in this case and everything he found. Because whatever Tolson found in this case, I would directly run that as a side-by-side with the Dr. Moore evidence, right? Because he just had Dr. Moore case that he was able to get a man convicted and got thrown out later, got overturned later, with evidence, with a frame job, with corruption, with, you know what I mean? So then he had a successful situation like this. You have a buddy that is the lead investigator and says, oh yeah, come help me with this investigation. We have to have this closed quick, man. The college is depending on us. I'm the lead investigator. I'm looking to move up. Like that, in my opinion, is enough reason to get this case closed quick based using somebody that was just happened to be in the area driving around at that time. It's not a far stretch. And that's where I was going with that. I didn't finish that before I started mansplaining, but a lot of people that talk about police corruption think there has to be a reason for it. So whenever somebody brings up police corruption, one of the first questions you see asked from everybody is, okay, well then what's the reason for police corruption? And pick one. Pick one. That's why we've done videos on police corruption so many times. It could be that the hand that feeds locally is is dependent on this case being closed. It could be that the lead investigator is looking to move up the chain quick. It could be that your good buddy from whatever that town was with Dr. Moore, I forget what it's called right now.
Bonner's Ferry.
Yeah, your good buddy in Bonner's Ferry was able to just close a case that seemingly had no leads and did it in this way and did it quick, whatever. And you know what I mean? There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to repeat that. Why did that Florida officer convict 300 people?
That's what I was thinking about. Like, or you're just a psychopath. Like, he was just a psychopath.
No, according to him, he wanted to move up the chain quick. That's all it takes. So is that psychopathic? Probably. But he thought he was doing it to move up quick.
The fact that you're willing to get so many innocent people put in jail, over 300 people, mess up their lives just to move up the chain.
I hear you.
Like, that's pretty psychopathic in my mind.
I agree. I think there is good evidence there for psychopath.
I mean,
for sure. You definitely have to be somebody that is not a very subjective person. Yeah, the cocaine cop. Yep. I think actually he was using crystal more than anything, but yeah. Yep.
Just gross. I mean,
and he had women that lost kids, men that lost their families. He ended up costing the state millions of dollars. The amount of wrongful convictions and money that got thrown down the drain was so absurd, dude. All because this guy wanted to move up quick. What an idiot.
Yeah.
Did he even take into account what the average officer's drug convictions are so that you can stay within the reasonable, high and lows? Probably not, because no other officer had even a third of what he had.
So that's a red flag, obviously.
Yeah, he was going to get caught no matter what.
What a
but
dummy.
How many families lost their kids before he got caught? That was just to get a promotion.
Yeah, January, I can't answer if Bryan Kohberger's innocent or guilty. I don't know. I haven't seen that trial yet.
We try our best to keep Bryan Kohberger out of the conversation.
Well, we've talked about him, but
he's obviously and he's obviously a part of the equation, but he's a secondary part of the equation, because what we're interested in and what true crime's interest is in is not the people. It's the investigation, the case, and the details, which will ultimately lead us to the suspect and justice and closure of this case. And in my opinion, I don't feel like we're to that point yet. We, because of this gag order, haven't seen enough of this case. Because of the police that are involved in this investigation, there's massive flags all over the place saying, hey, you need to look further into the police's details, backgrounds, and past investigations. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, what's kind of interesting is when you look at there's several different cars that I've seen on footage after looking into this case that look really close to an Elantra.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely.
So what if, like, if you wanted to frame somebody and you had confirmation they were out driving that night, you had real video footage of them out driving that night in the town of Moscow, and you wanted to make it
car.
Yeah, like the undercover cop car.
Yeah.
And you wanted to make it look like this person was driving in the area. So
Yeah.
you take a similar car if you don't have the exact same car, a white car. Like, how could you doctor this? How could you set this up to make this look like it's legit?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Maybe only use camera footage that's super crappy too, like that picture we saw from the store.
Yeah. Look, and
Because I couldn't tell the difference between that car as a Hyundai Elantra or the Ford Focus.
dude, the undercover car is so suspicious. I agree with you. That whole statement, both of them around why I want to know if they were even on the clock,
Yeah.
because that whole Banfield scenario is wrong. The whole thing is wrong, dude. If you shine a light at me and you're in plain clothes, in a plain car, a non-marked vehicle,
Completely undercover.
completely and totally undercover, and you shine a light at me and expect me to listen to what you're going to say, you've lost your mind. I'm going to pick up my
Run.
pace away from you.
Yeah, I will take off running. Especially a young college girl at
Dude.
night. Like, if I was out walking through the Banfield and he was out there, I would literally take off booking it. I would be gone.
Yeah.
I would not sit by and wait and see what he has to say because it's creepy.
I agree. And then when
Why are they
and then
doing
when
that
they
undercover?
ask him about the car, they say that it's because they're trying to save gas.
That doesn't mean you use an
What?
unmarked car. Yeah, it literally makes no sense. It's super weird.
So the car they were driving was 100% electric? Was it even that?
Even if it was, like, why wouldn't you just put Moscow PD's sticker on it? Like, I'm confused. Why don't they change all their patrol cars to that?
And does Moscow PD actually own that car? Because in my opinion, I don't think that I've ever seen a college police department have undercover vehicles.
No.
What you need to be undercover to drive up to a party, a raging party where they're not going to be able to tell the difference between a police car and a regular car anyways?
No, the only time you
Dude,
really have.
come on.
So I've ran across undercover cops before, and I have friends who have, and it's
Yeah,
usually for drug deals. Like, that's why you have undercovers.
You're talking
normally.
about like regular. So even when okay, so there's multiple different kinds of cars.
Right.
There are regular cars that they will use temporarily in a situation like that for
Yeah.
like a drug deal where they'll just change the plates and stuff like that, and they'll essentially borrow that car. They normally pull those cars from the motor pool for cars that have been picked up at a DUI or whatever and got left there because they didn't have enough money to pull them out, whatever the reason. Then they have unmarked police cars, which as long as you know what you're looking for, and like if you're a dope dealer, normally you know what you're looking for, and you can tell unmarked police cars because they still have to have the state level security for police cars on them, which require rims, lights, just no markings on the side of them. So they have the same lights that police cars do, not in the top part, but police have extra lights on the front and back normally too. Some of them even have bumpers, some of them don't, whatever. They usually have a cage in the back too. Then you have investigator cars, which are usually don't have a cage in the back, but still follow the same security with like rims and have an antenna on the back. But yeah, that car was nothing. It didn't have anything. It didn't have a cage. Did it have a radio? A built-in radio?
We can look at it, but I mean, you can't see that much of the car, I don't think, can you?
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can.
Oh, wait, no, there's a part where they get in it,
But
right?
I
In the
don't
body
know.
cam?
I don't know. I just know that I just know that a college police force has no value in undercover vehicles. There's no value in that.
No. I think it's weird.
Yeah, I thought he had a radio on him. That's what I thought, is I don't think they had a built-in. Therefore, is that even a motor pool car? If it's not a motor pool car, are you even allowed to be stopping people? Like, are you clocked in? Are you on the clock? Because like I said, that whole situation is weird. And I think that's why so many people get caught up in the Banfield footage, because that whole situation is weird. Everything is weird. And maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the crime, okay? But it still feels corrupt, because you have police officers that aren't in uniform. You have police officers in what seems like a privately owned car with no markings, no anything, and then giving people a hard time because they aren't just dropping everything to do what you say because you have a flashlight in your hand.
I mean, I think
That is like serial killer 101, bro.
honestly, I don't even feel like those boys that were walking home should have got ticketed.
Yeah.
They weren't doing anything.
Well, I mean, if they were under 21 and they were carrying alcohol, that
They didn't have. I didn't
that's
think.
normal in a college town.
I don't think they had any alcohol in their hands.
Well, if they were drunk, then that's enough too.
Did they act drunk?
I don't know. I need to go back and look at it, because last time I looked at the Banfield stuff, I was looking at it from the perspective of trying to listen and watch in the background for like 1122
Dude,
evidence. But yes, regardless,
they
like,
didn't look drunk. They weren't being crazy. They literally just looked like they were walking home. I don't think they should have got ticketed. And they didn't have anything in their hands.
I mean, you're not going to get away with that, okay? Because if you're on school property and that Banfield is school property, I believe that the cops are allowed to stop you and ask you for your ID. At that point, the cop would have legal rights to say, I smell alcohol, let's do a test. Now, is it a jerk move? Absolutely, it's a jerk move. But are they within their legal rights to do it? Absolutely, they're within their legal rights to do it.
I thought they were ticketed.
He said they were.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he said, I'm going to have you wait right here. We're going to get you this ticket and get you out of here. That would be interesting if they weren't ticketed.
Yeah.
Then what happened to that ticket?
Yeah, why were they standing there so long if they weren't ticketed or breathalyzed or got a field test, or they literally just stood there and got written tickets?
They were ticketed, but it was dropped. That means that something was probably going on. If they each got a ticket and they were each dropped, bro, I'm telling you, those guys were not on. They were not clocked in.
Who's Dave that went on Drunk Turkey? They dropped drugs. Okay. Interesting. Then why didn't they get ticketed for the drugs? Instead of,
I don't know, dude.
Instead of like whatever they got, I don't remember. Minor in possession or whatever.
I just know that whole situation felt wrong.
It did. The whole thing did feel wrong.
That's why people were connecting it to this crime. It makes sense, right? Because you have a house that's less than a quarter mile away from that scene that's going on, and you're watching a scene that feels corrupt. You have a cop car that's shady. You have cops that are shady, and you have cops that are treating these kids like just jerks, man. They're just being jerks for no reason. It's a gross abuse of justice and power.
Wait, Ford Fusion hybrids they stopped being made in 2020?
Oh.
So would they buy them cars from several years ago? Like, would the police department buy cars from like multiple years ago, like used cars to save on gas?
It depends on what police force you're talking about, because you have the Tennessee Police Department that has a law that they made written into it where they are allowed to take vehicles that have been confiscated for whatever reason. in any situation, and they're allowed to turn those cars into motor pool cars. You have cops driving around in brand new Corvettes. You have cops driving around.
It's pretty cool.
There's a Ferrari in Nashville area because they're allowed to turn those cars into motor pool cars. So I don't know. It's going to change.
Yeah, I saw a guy
state by state.
I saw a cop in an Escalade one time with some big rims in Nashville.
Yeah.
And thank you, Sarah. We appreciate that.
But it's created more corruption on top of it too. So I don't know if it's a good thing for society. It's good for cops, I guess, but what's great for cops normally isn't good for the rest of society. You know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I mean, being a cop is a servant position. So it takes a certain person to want to be a cop. It takes a certain person to want to do a police officer's job the right way.
It's really odd. And I did see, Heather, you say that there's no record of the replacement cars. That's really strange. I wonder if anybody I would like to talk to somebody from Moscow and ask them, have you seen your officers driving around in like hybrid cars? Was that a thing?
No, not hybrid. Unmarked.
Yeah, sure. Unmarked cars, hybrid car, unmarked
That's a straight up
cars.
undercover car. I want to know if they're even allowed to do that because here's the thing. Cops are not allowed to just pull, like when you're a cop, you're only a cop when you're clocked in.
Yeah.
When you're not clocked in, you are not a cop.
Right.
You have zero power from what that badge gives you. None. Zero. You can't just pull somebody over. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So
they had radios on though. So wouldn't you think they
radios
had to
that can be stuck in a pocket that can be taken home? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but they literally called somebody in, like they were radioing over. So would the radio person not be like, "Hey, you're not on the clock"?
I have no idea. Is it a common tactic to try and get money for the school's police department? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I didn't know that Kara had new charges. That's sad. You know, addiction is it's the worst.
Yeah.
I hope she gets through it okay.
Yeah.
Addiction doesn't make somebody necessarily, it doesn't make them a bad person at their core. But
it just makes them untrustworthy as long as they're active.
Yeah. And to society, I understand how they could be bad people to most people, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like how society in general looks at addicts, period. I think that we have been trained to look at addicts as like bad people or whatever, and I don't think that's fair. But yeah, I mean, if somebody's in active addiction, absolutely you can't trust them with nothing. Zero, period.
No.
You're shooting yourself in the foot if you trust an addict who's in active addiction, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So hopefully she gets it figured out, man. Hopefully she gets it figured out. The last thing that anybody that's in active addiction, and I'm not even talking about Kara in particular, the last thing that anybody that's in active addiction needs is people being codependent towards them and trying to help them out. You need to feel that accountability that comes with it, you know. That's how
addicts
learn.
they have enablers. Because when you're an addict, like that's gonna blow through all your money that you have in your hand and you're not gonna have anything left. Like, what do they do next? They find a new way to get money. And as long as they have enablers who will give them money, they don't have to like, you know, feel the accountability of blowing all their money, you know, like
because it's not really theirs. And
and every addict has to hit a rock bottom to want to change. You literally have to. A switch has to flip. You have to be like, I've had enough of this and I can't do this anymore and I need help. And that's the only way. And the quickest way to get to that point is to not have people enabling you. But no, I mean, I absolutely agree. Addiction is a healthcare issue, but it is nothing like cancer. And that's a weird, Mike. I usually like your input, but I feel like that one, like, of course, cancer patients aren't untrustworthy, but cancer patients aren't out here trying to get as much money as they can to blow it all on drugs and aren't willing to steal to get drugs. And like, it's totally different healthcare situation.
Well,
One's mental health,
yeah,
one's
right,
physical
right,
health.
right.
Mental health, even though it's a healthcare issue, it's that's why addiction is weird, is because a
I
lot of
don't think
people
it's
feel like
weird.
it's a choice. A lot of people are like, well, you're choosing to do that. You're choosing to take drugs. You're choosing to steal this. You're choosing to do all of that. But it's because they're sick. But that doesn't mean you give them that doesn't mean they get no accountability.
Yeah,
That doesn't
it's
mean
a
that.
flaw. It's a flaw of the mind. I don't
Yeah.
think it's weird. I don't think there's anything strange to it. It is a physical issue,
It is
and
strange.
it's with the brain. Your brain is physical, but with the emotional aspect that comes with addiction, it's going to hinder the other areas of your brain. So it's one and the same, where yes, it is a healthcare issue, but it is also a mental health issue, which is part of healthcare also, as we continue to evolve and grow and find out just how much mental health ties into our physical health. And I think that's where the stigma lies with our society, is we truly don't have a grasp on with the understanding of how much mental health ties into our physical health. And having a strong positive outlook in mental health baseline, it helps us with our physical health. But no, obviously, cancer patients definitely aren't untrustworthy, but they also aren't dealing with mental health issues with their diagnosis, other than like depression, but
Things that come along with, like, yeah, having physical health can also impact your mental health too. There's like a symbiotic relationship kind of between them, where if one goes down, the other can go down,
mhm.
But yeah, addiction's just, it's a hard one, and it's hard to understand sometimes. Even for people who have dealt with it and, learned a lot about it, it's hard.
Yeah, yeah, and that is gonna be a tough thing for her going through that. I agree. I agree.
Rock bottom can be lots of things.
Yeah.
It can be not being able to see your kids anymore. It can be not be your mom doesn't ever wanna see you again, or none of your family wants to see you again, or you're living on the streets, or it could be you had to do something really, really bad to get that last bit of money, or, it's different for literally everybody. It's whatever your personal rock bottom is, to where you're fed up and you just can't do it anymore.
Yep. 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 So going back to the questionnaire. So the reason why I put this third one in here, all the details gathered during the autopsy, is a couple different reasons. So you know that the police took all the evidence with the autopsies.
Wait, what?
The police took the evidence
Yeah,
from the autopsy. And you know what one police officer was at the autopsies?
I know, Tolson. I was about to
Tolson.
bring that up a minute ago, I forgot.
Yeah.
Is that we were talking about Tolson. I think it's extremely odd that he was there or even allowed to be there, and it makes me super nervous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think there's enough focus on the Brady Giglio. Dude, a corrupt police officer, even one corrupt police officer that's willing to manipulate, alter, and adjust evidence is all it takes to throw an entire case in the wrong direction. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Absolutely.
So when you have one officer and these guys are trauma bonded, and there's no way you're not, like, it just kind of comes with the territory. Unfortunately, that's just, one of the things that police officers have to deal with that the general public doesn't have to deal with, and comes with the territory and the job. These guys believe in each other and will have each other's backs no matter what. Like, it just comes with the territory. Okay. And there's nothing wrong to that. It's probably beneficial for their health and safety to have that. But when you have one that is corrupt and misleading the rest of the pack, then you have all these other guys that are looking for evidence to prove things that aren't legit or shouldn't be looked into in this case. That one officer, in my opinion, could be just Tolson.
Yeah, it could be. Absolutely.
And then you have Tolson, who was at the autopsy. And then you have the medical examiner who says the police took all the autopsy information and evidence. Doesn't that sound like something's wrong with that? If, in my opinion, if I'm a medical examiner, right? They went to school to be a medical examiner. They know that they're going to be held accountable to their job. I really hope that they kept copies of their own and didn't give like the original copy and everything to these police officers.
So,
because you're hindering your position as a medical examiner onto these police officers.
so what I was just thinking about was, is at what point did they take all of the evidence, and did they take like the literal physical evidence from the medical examiner after it was collected? Because that doesn't make any sense. I mean, did they take it to go give it to the lab? Like, what did they do
I
with
probably
it?
should have had this ready knowing I was going to bring this topic up, but Ann Taylor submitted a request for discovery that specifically says all evidence pertaining to the autopsy that was gathered and or seen by these police officers involved. And again, this just goes back to, why was Tolson even there?
You mean what we read about everything that they took?
Yeah.
Yeah, we read that on stream. Right? That document? Is that what you're talking about?
What are you talking about? Just the PCA?
No.
Because there was a request for discovery talking
Yeah,
specifically
we pulled it
about
up on stream.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, okay.
We did. We pulled it up on stream, and it's because we were confirming that there was proof that Tolson was at the autopsy.
Yeah.
And it asked for like a list of things that they collected. But it didn't go into specifics really. I would want to know, like, did they take it that day?
Okay,
Or
but
did they get, because the
the
medical
way that
exam
it was worded proves that, because then she's not asking the medical examiner for it.
Yeah.
She's asking the state to pull it from the police officers.
Yeah. So my question is, then how did the medical examiner come to their conclusion? Because I believe they're supposed to do the autopsy, they take notes, they collect evidence, and then they write their report.
In
They
my
come to a
opinion,
conclusion.
Police shouldn't even be there.
No, I agree. I think all testing, but there's argument here because with medical examiners, typically they take information from the crime scene and the police officers to make a determination.
Yeah, but you don't need to be present. What? You're the accountability?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't think they need to be present either.
No,
But I
you're
think
creating a flawed outcome at that point, creating pressure in a situation, because if this cop comes to this examiner and says, "Hey, Let me show you the evidence I have. That's the same way as giving answers before the test. That's what science fights so hard against to happen.
Yeah.
3 different unadulterated tests where you don't know the outcome.
Oh, I think autopsies should always be videoed, for one. I think they should always be videoed with audio. Always. No exceptions. I
No,
think they
I agree
always
with
should
you.
be.
But
Because
you still don't know
the
what happened
first
before the recording started.
right, and the
Mhm.
first initial autopsy especially, I think should be recorded. Maybe I mean,
Because that's
it's just
interesting.
important.
Why were the police there? Were they literally there the entire time for all 4 autopsies? Because going back to what's the point?
Oh, wow, I didn't think about that.
You aren't experts. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know their job. You don't have any reason to be there. Why are you there? Why?
I mean, why do you I wouldn't wanna see that.
Dude, any police, they didn't have any point in being there. None. Why? That's a red flag in itself.
Yeah, and it's a fact he was there. There's a request for discovery, a document that says all the officers that were present at the autopsy, at least the ones that were listed there. I don't know if there were more. I mean, it'd be kind of weird if there were more. I don't know why they need like a group viewing of the
Yeah.
autopsies, but they basically did.
Yeah. So a medical examiner is a doctor in healthcare. Police are not doctors in healthcare.
I don't know why the couch outside would be important. Maybe it is. I have no idea. Haven't heard of anything about it. Um, but yeah, police aren't doctors. They're not trained in autopsies. They're not trained in really anything to do with it.
Nothing. So that goes back to why were they there? I don't think that was a very quick process. So they what?
No
Just
way.
like, oh man, I don't have anything I need to do today. Let's go hang out for 8 hours while they do these autopsies. Weird. Strange.
Do you think that they had officers there from every agency to oversee the autopsies so that they would know the information as quickly as they could?
No. No, what information?
Anything that they collect, because they wanna know about the wounds, they wanna know about the type of weapon. The quicker they get information, the quicker they can solve the case, the quicker they can move on to other leads. They can call it in to somebody down in Moscow and be like, "Hey, this is what we know about this is what we know about this."
I mean, I don't think so, but I think that a trained medical examiner can look at a body and give you that rough information of that.
Yeah, that motion. Heather, I think you gave it to me last time too, the motion that, shows it. We pulled it up here last time. I'm pretty sure you're the one that helped me find it last time. Heather's on it.
It just
Always.
sounds so problematic.
But yeah, if you guys wanna go look at it, Heather posted it in chat. I'll put it up on the screen for a minute. We won't pull it up right now.
Yeah, it just sounds problematic.
I don't know. I wanna know how often police officers go to autopsies and why.
I don't need to know that because it
Why?
creates a situation of them being subjective. It is the opposite of science. What is the point of being there? Give me one reason, one good reason that's worth creating a flaw in our science.
But don't you think it's more of a signal of a red flag or not if it's not normal?
No.
Like, it doesn't happen commonly?
No. Mm-mm. No, there's general laws of science. It doesn't matter how often it happens. If there are police officers sitting in, then I think every single one of those situations is a problem situation. Because a police officer Officer's job is completely separate from a medical examiner.
I don't. Did you say this?
What?
That there was evidence taken from the crime scene to the autopsy?
No.
No, that's not what we were saying. We're just saying that the officers took things directly from the autopsy.
From the autopsy. So the officers took all the audio video from the autopsy. And that's why I was saying is I hope they have backups, because if I was that medical examiner, I wouldn't place my job on the backs of officers, but trust but verify, right? I'll give you a copy, but it's my standards to keep the original.
So what was lost from the autopsy? Didn't you say something was lost?
No, we don't know that.
Oh, it's not confirmed?
No.
I thought somebody was saying that reports or something was lost from the autopsy.
Nothing's confirmed yet.
Okay. Wouldn't that be ridiculous, though, if what they took from the autopsies was what was lost and that was real? I
Yep.
hope that is not true.
I mean, it's not going to be surprising based on what we saw in the Dr. Moore case. I think every single thing that Officer Tolson was a part of needs to be thrown out. Every single one. He shouldn't have been in the field. He shouldn't have a badge. He shouldn't be anywhere near anybody. You have a police officer who altered and fabricated evidence to convict an innocent person.
So what if you were the judge on this case and you had factual evidence proving it was 100% Bryan Kohberger, but you had a corrupt officer who also fabricated evidence?
Then I would bring to light all of it. Absolutely, I would.
Yeah, but do you think Bryan Kohberger should get off?
I don't think it's about getting let off. I think that there's a fix there. I think you can come out and say, hey, this is what we found that happened. We're bringing this to light. We are going to reinvestigate this evidence, or we're going to use different evidence to convict him. Here's what's important, and this is where I think a lot of people miss it, is yes, Tolson should be in prison, one. Two, we have to protect our justice system at all costs. That is above any single situation. Above it. It is above everything, because it is the history and continuing success of our country, people, society. Our justice system is what deems good based on society's expectations and or bad. Now, obviously, there are a lot of situations where corruption happens, and a lot of people don't have their full faith in the justice system, but we need people who are going to be able to stand up and put their foot down and say, hey, we aren't going to take this anymore. This is between right and wrong, and the justice system is here to protect the people, the whole America, the whole people, not one person and not one victim, but the whole America.
The whole America?
Yeah. Every single person involved. So if I was that judge, I would just be honest about it. I would not immediately gag it. That's accountability, bro. I would have been like, sorry, Tolson.
Well, because I feel like this is what usually happens if it's the whole fruit of the poisonous tree thing. Like, that's what normally happens is if there's proven corruption, like a police officer lied, the whole case gets thrown out. And then they can recharge you and then try to reprove it in court. But after it's done, like the whole case gets thrown out.
That's just making an assumption. That's not how it has to be.
That's how it happens, though.
That's not how it happens. That's how it's happened before, but it's not happens as in every time.
No, but most of the time. In the past, that's how it has happened.
I don't think so.
Yes.
I think that maybe if you can prove corruption while the case is active, yes. But we're in pretrial.
Yeah, at this point, it gets thrown out if they prove that somebody lied.
I don't agree.
That is what normally happens.
I
But
don't agree. I don't think that's what would happen here.
okay, but this would be a rare instance then. Because
this is pretrial. You're not.
What are you talking about?
You're not in a case. So why pretrial is important is because you can still gather evidence to submit for the trial and case. So if you had police corruption in this case and you have a 100% confirmation that Bryan Kohberger is the guy, that's like a catch-22. So you're saying that what? Tolson, the corrupt officer, gave the 100% for sure evidence that this person committed the crime? Then how do you know that's 100% for sure evidence?
No, that he didn't give it. But you have 100% confirmed evidence that it's him, but you also have an officer who lied, because that is what normally happens in a case. Like in Ann Taylor's previous cases where she proved one of the officers lied, the whole case got thrown out. And then he got recharged and they lost. The guy got charged.
That wasn't a capital case with a huge team of investigators.
What?
There's a big difference between a single officer giving a defendant a charge versus a huge investigation with multiple officers and multiple different force. Yes,
I understand there's multiple law enforcement agencies, but there's never just one officer giving a charge. That's not how it works.
What are you talking about?
It was a murder trial. It was a case.
Okay.
So there are multiple investigators.
I just need to understand the details of that case before I say, but I don't think that it just gets thrown out. I've seen tons of capital and or murder cases that don't just get thrown out because there's evidence in question. And for me, it doesn't matter. Our justice system is more important than everything. Every single suspect, every single defendant, every single victim. So it doesn't matter. In my opinion.
I mean, from what I've seen, that's what's happened in every case where I've seen where there's been proven corruption, is that the whole case gets thrown out, and if they really think the guy is guilty and like there's real evidence there, then a lot of times they just recharge and go through the whole process again.
I mean, that's what should happen. That's what should happen.
Look for this.
Yeah, that's just what should happen. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that if there's corruption, there's nothing wrong with gathering the evidence again. I don't know why you would look at that as a con.
Sorry, taking care of something. You guys, if anything's going on, just shout it out right in the chat.
There is a corrupt officer in this case. So I guess it depends on how you look at it. There might not be corruption where you have a evidence gathered in a corrupt manner, but there is a corrupt officer. I agree with you. I don't understand why there's still officers. I don't get it. But that's what, as long as we've been in true crime, we've been covering cases, you guys, where You will have corrupt officers who've done some of the most horrible things that I've ever seen, like absolutely insane things. You have these 3, or was it 3 or 5 officers in Alabama that broke into a guy's apartment and shot him, and he didn't do anything. They didn't do anything, and they waterboarded him with alcohol and all this stuff. And while those guys were being investigated, they still had their badges and they were still working. So why? I don't know. I don't know. It's insane. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
So, what did we already talk about what you wanted to touch on about the house?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. 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 Absolutely. Yeah. So I hope there's no corruption in this case, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like there's corruption here. We just won't know until we get more evidence into it. I think if there is an actual corrupt portion of this case, I think that we're going to see it in the IGG. I think that we're going to see it in the SNP IGG. I think there was actually a sheath found on site. And I just don't know the chain of custody with that sheath after it was picked up. But we don't have enough evidence yet to look into it further, you know.
I'm gonna have to read that after the stream, Heather, but thank you for sending it.
What?
Uh, something on. You can see it.
Oh yeah. Hmm?
I said it
Yeah.
got awfully quiet.
Yeah, Heather. I have read that. We actually read that on one of our videos. We went through it piece by piece. It's really interesting. But what? So because with Tolson, what they ended up doing is they took timestamps and fabricated fake evidence. However, because that evidence wasn't used in the actual trial, they're only charging him with the false confession and ignoring the request for an attorney. So it's very possible he might only get a slap on the wrist. I don't know, but they have evidence of him creating fake evidence, which is insane that a cop would even do that. Absolutely insane. And that cop was involved in this case. Wild. Yeah. So you partner that, a corrupt officer, with officers that couldn't handle this case, had zero experience whatsoever. You're setting yourself up for disaster.
For sure.
Setting yourself up for disaster.
Absolutely. So what do you want to talk about next?
Nothing. I was going to close it out.
Okay.
Yeah. But I want to make sure and post all the important things.
I see you talking about the couch sofa outside, January. I just don't know much on it. It wasn't, part of what we prepared to talk about tonight. And I haven't really seen any theories around it or information around it. I think it's an interesting idea. But I think that, I mean, I'm curious to know if they checked it. Like, I would hope the cops would have checked the sofa outside and the whole perimeter of the house everywhere. Like the drainage ditch, like everywhere. I hope they looked everywhere. Because I mean they should. They should check every inch of that place and the perimeter.
And if they knew what they were doing, they did it with their body cams on.
Yeah, seriously. For real.
But I don't think we're gonna see that.
Wait, when you have like forensic people on the scene,
I-
because do they have body cams? Like the crime scene team that comes in and collects stuff? I don't think they have body cams.
I think it depends on what city you live in, if it's a major metro city, because yeah, I think a lot of times they do have camera evidence, and that's the direction whole law enforcement is going. There's no way around that. That's the only real accountability is having video footage of anything anybody's doing. And what's interesting is that's the big thing that the boys in blue are fighting against, where like if you're a police officer and your number one goal, right? Your number one, true as can be, number one goal is to take care of the general public and or society, then wouldn't you want things like body cam 24/7? If you know that you're doing a good job and you're doing things the right way, wouldn't you want these things so that you don't have these dirty, corrupt cops tarnishing your good name? Or is that many cops really just that dirty? Like, scary.
Yeah, I don't think crime scene teams typically have body cameras, but because they're constantly taking pictures. When they find something, they take a picture.
Yeah,
Like,
no. I don't think they have body cams. I think they set up a tripod.
mm, maybe that's true. I don't know.
All right, but I just posted everything on there, you guys, all of our social media and everything. Hang on one second here, and I will post this.
I'm an adult and still hide behind the couch. My dog does too. Super funny, Mike.
All right.
Heather said, I'm behind the couch now. Does this explain a reason why Ellie would not care to look further into two male profiles? He drove them to the corner club, then home from the grub truck. Chances no driver touched DNAs on their bodies. I mean, that I'm curious about that too. Like, could the touch DNA be the driver or the DoorDash driver? Or, I mean, honestly, anybody who was already exonerated, and why they didn't look into it more. They claim they didn't do testing on it, though. It depends on if you believe them or not. I mean, I think it. Why even bring it up? Why did you even collect it off of that thing? Because the whole argument is they collected DNA off the knife sheath because that was like the most important piece of evidence to test for DNA. Well, where did you collect that DNA from then? I want to know where you found it. Like, we obviously know one is from the glove outside, but there's two more that are from inside the house. What was that on? Why was that important to swab? What is that object? And then why was it not important to dig into it? Because you're claiming you can pull DNA from like 5 skin cells.
Yeah.
So why was that not able to be tested? Was it one skin cell? Like, come on. What are we talking about here? It kind of blows my mind that they're acting like that DNA wasn't able to be tested on, but then they could get DNA from 5 skin cells
Yeah.
off a button snap.
Mm-hmm.
Was it tested and they had this person exonerated, or this person is a protected party for some reason? Or like, what is up with that? Because it is weird.
It is. It's super weird. Very, very strange. But yeah, we just posted all of our social media and everything. Hopefully on Sunday we'll actually have the new set up and running, you guys. But yeah, and we just gave 5 gifted subs, and we'll do another 50 like we've done before each month later in the month. But we appreciate all of you. Hopefully we'll have that new set up and running that we're going to be using from here on out going forward, since we got all of our new stuff here. See how the camera and the light is.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It's very nice. Very nice setup where we can see the screen a lot better.
Jeff, I thought they said it. I thought that Bill Thompson said it in court, but with this case, there's so much you always have to look back and verify. So, and thank you, AR. We appreciate that. I need to stop by one of your lives, actually catch you live sometime soon. Thanks, Heather.
Yeah, cilantro hot dogs. I love cilantro. Absolutely love it.
And hot dogs.
Yeah, like when I get street tacos, I get no onions, extra cilantro.
I feel really bad for people who taste soap when they eat cilantro. Like, you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good. Kale's good too. Yeah.
I like kale chips.
Yeah. I like hot dog flavored cilantro chips, but you know.
Ew.
All right, everybody. This is the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. And we appreciate all of you. You can find us on all of our socials on Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, all of them. Come hang out, come watch the show, and we will hopefully have our new setup here soon and be ramped up and ready to go like a real talk show. And we will see you there next time. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you hit that like button and leave us some love on any of the platforms.
Yes, thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for leaving your input. Leave a like or a comment. It really helps out. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. We will see you back here on Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Time.
Yes.
And until then.
And Sundays will be good. It'll be on subjective and objective. Yeah. That.
Just that. Okay, cool. Have a great weekend. See you Sunday. Bye.
Cilantro hot dog.